All right. Part of it in English, part of it in Russian, the introduction to our program. Nevertheless, the program will be in English. And our guest
Good.
is may help. Is Demi Granniopteryx, our British friend. We have two British friends, and Granny is the most elegant, most eloquent, most
I like the elegant. I like the elegant. Keep on. More.
Elegant. There's an echo in this room, but yeah, I was absolutely charmed by your first participation in our program here, and there was a lot of people liked it, and we need to hear more of English language because that's the language of the future of the world. Because we don't need more of other.
It's not going to be Chinese then.
No.
No, I don't. Actually, I don't think so either. But that's my own personal opinion. Can I speak, or are you?
Sure. Go ahead.
When I was about 15, I developed I thought I should learn Russian and I should learn Chinese. So I got those. They had a series in Britain called Teach Yourself books, and I tried to teach myself Russian. At least I got the alphabet. And then I tried to teach myself Chinese. And I still remember a few of the radicals, but in so doing, I did a lot of sort of history as well. And China has a habit of hermetically sealing itself off from the rest of the world. And it looks like it's doing that now. And it was going out. It had a huge economy. And then it was all closed down in the 17th century, wasn't it? And it looks like they have a huge economy and they're going out. And now it looks like it's closing down again. It's quite an interesting pattern. Anyway, yeah.
No, it tells us a lot about how to learn from the past, because we think that on one hand, we hope that everything will be just on the up and up in human history, and then boom, we jump back to Nazism like we have in Russia today, and like Hitlerism, and people in the West. I just yelling from the rooftops, if you will. People have no idea about the scope of propaganda in Russia, the level of hatred that they have for Soviet, for United States, for Great Britain, especially. Somehow it's considered a long time. I mean, with all the Russians who live in London, you would think, but still it's considered like the main foe, geopolitical interest, this and that. And Russia economically is still nothing compared to, I mean, the state of New York makes more money than the whole of Russia, with all the hullabaloo that we hear. But still, we have to deal with that, and it takes a lot of our emotional strength here in the Russian-speaking people in New York, and there's a lot of we didn't have enough with Democrats and Republicans, with Trump and Biden splitting families. Now we have also a husband is from Ukraine, the wife is from Russia, from Moscow, Kiev, and they don't talk to each other. They don't divorce.
Really?
Yeah. A lot of people between friends, it was never a problem. Ukrainian, Russians, they made families, they had kids. Now you have firstly there were some stickers like I support Putin, this and that, early February. I mean, early in the invasion. But then some windows were broken, like seriously, and some cars were smashed and then destroyed. And people basically in New York, yeah. So people stopped doing it. So if you see any sticker today on a car or on a house, a flag on a house, it will be Ukraine. So Russian thing is not. I mean, if you bought like vanity plate for your car saying CCCP number 1, then you have to live with that. But other than that, there's no Russian.
Tell me, In
insignia.
Russia, I
Yeah.
can understand people thinking that the Ukraine war is a good idea because they've had 10 years of constant propaganda with an increasingly narrowing chokehold on their access to information. But in New York, you can get information from all over the place. Uh, I don't see how you can think that Putin was doing the right thing.
You get information. It's like look at everybody else. People get information from all over the place, but they still vote for Biden. They still vote for decline. It doesn't matter. People have no tools to manage information. They cannot figure it out. And a second thing is, of course, it's America. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
If it rains, you say it's a sunny day. If you're in New York, you say you're in Caribbean, and you go to a Caribbean restaurant and feel like dancing and eating, I don't know, the sea shellfish. That's thing. And the stunning thing was when there was some anniversary, I think, in the year 2020, there was obviously an anniversary for World War II and Russia. It's a great patriotic war.
Mhm.
And it was total madness in the 7 years prior. I mean, 5 years prior to 2020, there was another jubilee. So in Russia, there was a big thing, and they used it to. Russia has no national idea. Who are you? Your richest people make a lot of money. Go live in London. Go live in France. Go live in Italy. Go live in Miami Beach in the United States. They don't care about homeland investing in whatever is going on there. Just pump and dump the old scam. So that's and the young people, they look at it. Of course, they hear about the heroes of the past, the wars won, etc., etc. But the reality says otherwise. Where's the boss? Boss is in Italy. Where's the boss? Boss is in France. That's it. And they leave and they build this very comfortable existence. I mean, not very comfortable, but the concept for the government is, you don't like it here, go bus.
Right.
Become a bus boy in London. Become a bus boy in Ibiza. Become a bus boy in Marbella. Go to Brooklyn. Work there. You'll send your money here anyway, to your parents, to your girlfriend, to your wife, to your husband. You will do it. So this is the way a lot of countries function. They send their best and the brightest to the what's called the first world, the golden billion, right? So that's how it is, and therefore they have no idea, but they try to build something. So they made it like they're ready to attack if Germany starts the war again. If Germany has just Germany
They
is
actually, people are actually talking about Germany restarting the war.
they used to be talking about that, and they say and so the cars were like the tanks from all the movies, all documentaries about World War II. They started decorating cars with insignia like to Berlin, and we can do it again. And mm, all they went absolutely like. Very creative, like avant-garde in terms of insulting Germany because of the celebration of the anniversary of World War II victory, May 9th, as it's considered in Russia. So that was this thing that threw everybody off. In a lot of people didn't like it, but in New York there was same thing. A lot of cars were decorated to Berlin in Russian. We can do it again. We'll win. Just do anything to us. We'll see. We'll show you all this kind of stuff that it was not too strange this year to have this enthusiasm, quote unquote, hateful enthusiasm, because a lot of Ukrainians served in Russian army and a lot of Russians serve in Ukrainian army. It's closely knit peoples. Whatever they say now about each other, it was. I mean, facially, you cannot tell. You cannot tell. There is a no like you can tell. I can tell a Vietnamese from a Korean here in New York, and Chinese from a Korean sometimes. But with Russians and Ukrainians, it's not that obvious who's who.
No, well, basically, it's there's so many people have been crossing over that how would you? Mind you, apart from the language, if you looked at the average Ukrainian, you wouldn't be able to tell them um, from a I don't know what a Pole, would you?
No, there are some things. I mean, when somebody tells me that I'm a Belarusian, say, but and I looked like, yeah, you really are from Belarus. I mean, not a
Really?
Belarusian
Yeah.
Jew,
Well,
but
yes.
there's certain kind of facial proportions. I don't know. I mean, I may be wrong sometimes, but most times I can guess. But do you have an idea why English language became so popular, like pervasive language in the world? People want to know more of it and to read
There
more
are
about it.
there are several reasons. The first one, of course, is the British Empire took English all over the place, and then, of course, that was taken over by the American Empire.
Mhm.
So that just solidified it in the places where it was. But the other thing was, for instance, the Brits in India. Now, India is, it's not a homogenous single country. It's a lot of states, and they all spoke different languages. And when Britain went in there, they used English as the lingua franca, the
Yeah.
administrative language. So again, that was useful because it didn't give any one language priority among the scrapping states because they
Hmm.
were all at each other's throats. That's the first thing. The second thing is, as a Hungarian emigre told me, he arrived here in 1956 with nothing
Hmm.
but the clothes on his back. And he said, it took me, that's him, it took me 2 weeks to learn basic English and I could get around. Then it took me the next 10 years to learn how to speak it properly. But the point is, English is a very simple language to learn. It has no genders. It has a very, just word order. If you know the word order, you've got the language. It's got no
Hmm.
objects and subjects. And so it's easy to learn. And the third thing is that the English are so bad at languages. They are pathetically grateful when anybody from whatever part of the world tries to come out with English, thus saving them the effort
Yeah.
of learning the other language. So the British are very tolerant of foreign people talking. I remember I was living in Paris when I was a teenager. And I spoke good French. I don't speak good French now, but I spoke good French then. But I had an English accent. I could not get the accent right. And I went up to some policeman and I was looking for the Gare du Nord. And I said something like, s'il vous plaît, où est le Gare du Nord? Something like that. And he stood there, a very tall gendarme, and he looked down his nose. The first time I'd ever seen anyone actually look down his nose. He looked down his nose at me and says, Peut-être, mademoiselle, vous voulez le Gare du Nord? And I thought, right, sod it. I'm going to speak English very loudly from now on. And, nobody gave me any grief after that. And that's when I stopped speaking French. Well,
Yeah.
there you are. Okay, over
speaking
to
speaking
you.
speaking yeah, speaking of the childhood traumas and the noses, I was when I was little, we used to go to Baltic beaches of Latvia. My dad's a tennis coach, and they had a good courts, a good tennis stadium in the woods there by the water. So we were there quite often. I mean, every year we went there to Lielupe. That's a little sort of village, you can say, small town. So I was there, and of course, we walked around. We had to ask people sometimes, "What time is it, sir?" or "Hello, what time is it?"
Mhm.
And I was mistaken often for local because of the big nose. The nose is kind of a big
The
part of the Latvians
Latvians
too.
have
Yeah,
big noses, have they?
yeah, many of them do. So they
Okay.
would look at me and they would say, "Young man, why don't you speak your native tongue?"
Yeah.
I asked in Russian, but
Yeah.
that gave me the idea that people are what they are.
Yeah.
I was not traumatized by that.
Yeah.
It was fun, and I love to swim when it was cold temperature, like 13 Celsius. Was the kind of temperature that of water. But I venture to the water, but not for too long, of course. Not
That's
these days, though. When it's steaming hot in England and it's steaming hot here, we have some relief for a couple of days. But before there was like 100 Fahrenheit, and that's too
Is
much
that
for us.
common? That's quite common in New York, though. That's why everybody went to the Catskills in the summer, isn't it?
Yeah, but this year it's kind of hotter, and I know that the climate people they try to make big deal out of it. I've even Al Gore crawled from under his very well air conditioned rock and found a few words to say that that's the
Do you know in England, in Britannia, when the Romans were in Britannia
Mhm.
in charge, they were growing grapes as far north as Birmingham. That's Birmingham in England, by the way, in the Midlands. They were
Not in
growing enough.
Alabama.
Not that one. No, no, they didn't know about that one. No, but they were growing grapes.
Yeah.
And the town of Leeds in
Hmm.
the north is called Leeds because originally the Romans called it Leodis because they saw lions there.
Wow.
That's how warm it was when the Roman. We've still got a way to go before it gets as warm as that.
That
So
explains
these
lions.
things
Yeah.
go up and down. Yeah, yeah, there were lions in the north of England, which means it was pretty warm. And as I said, when the Romans were there, they were growing grapes.
Were there
So
any unicorns?
I don't believe there were. At least I haven't heard of
Yeah.
any. But then maybe it was a big secret.
Yeah. Have you
But yeah,
heard
I
of?
mean, sorry,
Yeah.
go on.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that, and there was no carbon emissions then.
Yeah, there was little ice age they call it that put a lid to that development, but eventually, I mean, people are scientists, which is a very disgraced profession these days. But scientists and the science are saying that we are still coming out of this ice age. We're still on not where the humanity used to be.
Hmm.
And interestingly, the stats again, the historical data shows that the colder it is, the more wars people have. So warmer climes tend to bring
But
peace.
that's nonsense. Africa, Mary Kingsley, the English explorer in the 19th century,
Mhm.
remarked that the Africans were doing nothing but fight each other. Every village was at war with every other village. In fact, she said the missionaries were doing a lot of damage because now, talk about seeing into the future. She said the missionaries are causing trouble because they're converting these people to Christianity and they're not fighting each other so much. And she said, this is going to overpopulate the place. And then she used this expression, we are going to see some nice little famines in Africa in the next 50 years. That's what she said. But the point is, she noticed that the Africans were fighting at daggers drawn all the time. So you can't say that the colder it is, the more wars there are. I mean, it's pretty warm in Africa in the 19th century.
Yeah, that is true. But first of all, there is such thing as too much of a good thing too.
Yeah, that's true.
That's one thing, and the other thing, maybe people tend to, be very Eurocentric when they talk about science, and they say when it's in
I
Europe,
think that's more
they
like,
base
yes,
it on European data
yeah.
and European developments. I mean, thinking of it like with common sense. from where we stand. And of course, we know that the West does a lot for Africa's, well-being, and it's not always end well. And a lot of socialist ideas travel much faster than capitalist ideas
Yeah.
for whatever reason, and it makes people leave Africa and go to the United States and to United Kingdom because their bosses adopted this socialist robbery type of situation for the countries. Let me ask you this. I'm asking people, and this is really something that's on my mind, because I told you before the program, we haven't met since that it happened in my life. I did not tell you then that when we met last time, because it was not confirmed. So I'm running for the U.S. Congress, and it's interesting when I meet a lot of people, and I was limited by COVID and sometimes personal preferences not to see a lot of people, because I by my profession as an interpreter, I met a lot of people. It was actually the step one, right? Meet people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Step two, translate. so so yeah, now I meet a lot of people, I talk to people, and I'm amazed how people easily slide. I don't know if it's their real feeling, but they slide into telling me how fearful they are of what's going on in the world, what's going on in the country, and how we are. The country's lost anyway. There's no way to fix it.
America is lost.
America. We're talking about America, the big, powerful powerhouse for the world. A lot of steel, a lot of brick, a lot of muscle, a lot of everything. iPhone in every kettle, in every pot. So that pot in every pot, and so still people are so afraid that something is about to happen, which is beyond. That will trump the, pardon the pun, trump the Constitution, trump the law, trump the order, and we are about to collapse. And I explained to them that it comes from very, very different sources, this feeling, and I cannot escape it myself sometimes. Or now I'm much more optimistic once I'm running, and I know that
Yeah.
I mean, my yeah, I'll come and I'll fix it. I'll fix it for you. Just vote for me.
Yeah.
No, seriously, when you talk to other people and you try to get, I think the best out of them. I think that at first you learn that people never participated in voting. A lot of people, like
Yeah.
democracy is in trouble because there is no democracy, and people are not doing the thing that they're supposed to do for their own well-being. They don't vote, and in the United States, which is one of the most politically kind of active countries, this is not the case at all.
Look, about 15 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe, I had a cleaning lady coming in. She was from Georgia. And she mentioned, I mean, she spoke about the war going on in Georgia at the time. And I didn't take any notice of her. I mean, she mentioned it. I knew it was horrible. I knew it was bad, but it was very, very skin deep. And that's because I was busy. I was doing other things. I was looking after a family. I was looking after horses. I was trying to do, a job.
Yeah.
And there's only so much extra time you have. It's only, well, within the past 4 years. Then I was writing for the BBC at the time, so we were concentrating on current political events, but only in Britain. It's only since I left them that I started looking worldwide. And that, people only have so much. You might say, you know what Cicero said to somebody, and this isn't new. Cicero talking to a chap at some social event, and he was trying to talk politics, and this guy said, "Oh, I don't take any notice of politics." And Cicero said, "You may not take any notice of politics, but politics takes notice of you.
That's right.
And yeah. But Cicero was one of the few who was concentrating on that. And most of the people, it's so bloody complicated. And you have so many other complications in your life. It's a big problem, democracy. You have to think. And a lot of people just don't have the time for thinking.
Yeah,
Now,
and this is
but what they do have the time for is switching the television on and seeing somebody saying the world's going to end in 5 minutes, and that's easier to absorb.
yeah, it's something that it's a certain critical mass element to all this. And of course, when times are good and people work and they enjoy and they heard that the times are good, so they just don't pay attention to anything else. But then they start paying attention, and as you said, and you quoted Cicero, and nowadays a lot of people are saying if you don't go into politics, politics comes to you.
Oh, well, right.
Yeah, that's the common thing, and that's I mean, common thing to say in our situation here. And I say it again and again because it's really the case, and people respond to the prices at the pump, the gas. Now, this morning I read that one politician, Republican, of course, he is registering people to vote by them. They come to the gas pump, and they say, "You like this? How are you going to vote? Here's it."
Yeah.
And you really, when I started this thing here, I mean, the political kind of this branch of my biography, so to speak, like as I quote Yogi Berra a lot these days. You know Yogi Berra, right?
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah. See
baseball
a
player.
fork, you see the fork in the road, take it. So I saw a fork.
Which fork, though?
That's what he said. That's why he's genius. It's called yogism.
Right.
And the other thing that he says, nobody goes there anymore, is too crowded.
Right.
So
Yeah, okay. That's
Don't-
Sam Goldwyn came out with stuff like that as well.
yeah,
A verbal contract isn't worth the paper it's written on.
yeah. So those things, they have a lot to do with reality of our life on this planet, I must
Yeah.
say. But they sound crazy. So are we.
Yeah.
So I realized how America's life is developed, like in every other way. If you know what to do, you go to a big store like Home Depot and you buy the timber and you buy the nails and you buy a hammer and you buy the drill and you buy whatever. It's easy once you know where you're going. You go to a certain place and the society kind of equips you to go there further. It's the power of capitalism. And same thing with politics. There's so many organizations, so many people. I was on a Zoom meeting a few days ago and I cannot shut up about it. I saw people from all over the country and they discuss things that they lose their sleep over the proper election procedure. And they just share the stories and how they're going to counter. There's an app that sends directly complaints if you see anything suspicious, any shenanigans. You take pictures, it goes to the right people who will make big noise about it. So you don't have to, again, you don't have to think, as we say here, but it's convenient. And they talk about what to do with paper ballots, because sometimes they send you paper ballots without having your request for it, and you get them. And sometimes you don't vote at all, but then sometimes you come to the polling site and they say, "Oh, you voted already."
Yeah. I've heard of that.
So yeah, so he says, don't open this if you never requested it. You got the ballot. You grab it on the election day, November 8th, here in the States, and you go and you open it in the presence of the officials there and make them check, because there's a unique identifier attached to that, and it shows you if you voted. So you report it.
Hmm.
So people are ready, and people believe. We Americans are strange people. We stick to the Constitution. It's a written document, and people think that when I went to Washington D.C. on January 6th, and I asked people what we're going to do there when I was there, because it was the whole thing. I went there because I was First of all, I voted for Trump. Second of all, I was a Republican. I'm a Republican. I'm nominated by Republican and conservative parties. But I went there and I said, because I wanted to report to my listeners, to my viewers on YouTube, and I said I'll go there. So how would I look if I wouldn't go there? So I went there. And I asked people, and they said it's like, two or three people told me same thing. It's a Jericho march. We'll walk around Washington, the Capitol building, and we'll change the results of elections because it's like Jericho. The walls will
Fall
fall.
down. Hmm.
That's it. That's it. That was what everybody was saying. A lot of religious people, like two-thirds probably was the Jesus banners and all kinds of American Christianity movements and institutions who would come from all over the country, and there were kind of camps, natural camps. The Californians were there. Californians traveled. The convoy there, and people dressed. There were people dressed like Spartans, homemade stainless steel helmets. Of course, a number of Lady Liberties, a lot of Civil War reenacting characters. It was like a fair. The weather was atrocious, but that's a different story. People came, and it looked like, as I said recently, there was like those Giotto painting when you see Jesus coming to Jerusalem on a donkey, and there were people in the branches sitting, up
Yeah.
high, trying to get a better view. So that was also present. A lot of people were sitting up in the trees, younger ones, of course. And next to me was a priest who was performing exorcism. He got defrocked, I think, for that later on. But he was
Oh,
he was
really?
doing that. And yeah, Catholic guy.
But tell me, what's the meaning of all of this? I mean, if people have the idea that they're going to change politics by, well, referring to biblical events, that they're going to repeat themselves, that's not constitutional.
It's not constitution, but constitution is kind of based on, I would say, heightened sense of reality. Like a lot of things in life, we look at a piece of canvas with some paint on it, and suddenly we see things. And we become better people. So there is nothing material between us and the canvas, but it kind of comes out of nowhere. And same thing was, if any country would have, ideally, if anything like that, this number of people were disappointed with the results of elections, and elections were held to the highest standard, in fact, why wouldn't it merit an investigation? Why wouldn't there be a hold on everything? What's the rush? Let's figure out who won. Let's see the paper. Let's see the score. Let's see the fingerprints. Why not to put country into strife like we're going through? Of course, it's not Afghanistan. It's no Taliban yet. But why not to sort things out for the future? If we're so honest before ourselves, let's put a stop on things. Let's have some provisionary government, not the pres. Of course, it's not in the Constitution, but people wrote Constitution. It's not 10 commandments. It's just something that it's 10
But
amendments.
the Constitution is the playing field on which you play the political game. You can't just decide to suspend the boundary lines simply because you're not holding the ball.
You on one hand, yes, but that's all man-made, and you have to act. You don't have a fire in the house every day. Somehow you kind of manage to act on your to think of your feet, and rectify the situation, hopefully. So that was the case when a lot of people were, of course, they tried to. I don't want. It's a long story, and it's very emotional to many people, and to me included, because that's how I feel. As I said already, that it has to be. You can call it paternalistic, you can call it whatever, but the fact of the matter is that it has to be sorted in a different way than it is right now. And what we have here, this commission that is doing absolutely unconstitutional, they call it investigation. They were referring it to Department of Justice. People just everybody saw what they're discussing, and everybody sees that they're manipulating evidence. And it would be thrown out of any court at any time of American history. What they're trying to play there, it's
I
a
have heard of that.
it's a
Yeah.
production. It's a production. They put sound from one time time period to another image, and they manipulated it, and they created a program. They screened it, and every member of this committee is reading from a teleprompter. Not a single person is saying anything, just ad lib.
So this is the Democrats you're talking
That's a
about.
Democrat, and there are two Republicans. One of them is a very emotional, not in a good way, guy, Adam Kinzinger, a veteran, but he's crying and he's curving his lips, and on any occasion, he's really kind of ready to cry at the drop of a hat. And the other one is he's not good for television though, so he cannot control his emotions. And but his idea is to he won't be reelected. They don't go for election, nor him, neither does Liz Cheney, the daughter of so hated Dick Cheney, the vice president of George W. Bush. And she's a smart woman, but she realized that she's relatively young and she has no future in politics because the Democrats hate her. She's daughter of Dick Cheney for this, and she pretended she played a Republican for a while, but then she decided that she will play a sheep in a sheep's clothes, as I say. So she would be representing Republicans. She also won't be reelected in Wyoming, and my friends report that there is a big wave coming, and she's like 20 percentage points under the Republican candidate, a woman also. But she's now going to get a contract, and then maybe go back to politics when climate will be different politically. But she wants to work on MSNBC or CNN, and there's a lot of money attached to that. So you remain advertising your personality, and you promote certain ideas, and you can lobby this way, because that's lobbying also, being on television. Not legal maybe, but they participate, and I don't hear of any journalists being punished for donating, say, to in promoting interest of a certain party, just being factually their surrogates. So that's the mix. That's the boiling pot of U.S. politics today. But people are kind of beginning to see the light, and they are asking about the votes, and they asking about the history, and they asking about the program and what you stand for. And of course, we have a whole earful to tell them, we Republicans, what's going on in the schools, what's going on in Afghanistan, what's going on in Ukraine. And it's not pretty. And what can I tell you? Everybody's putting the British position above American in terms of Ukraine. Great respect for what, and we understand that it's not enough because the war is still on, but it's really like the U.S. position is. I must say, with this government is despicable. It's helpless, and they talk about a lot of money.
Aren't they giving HIMARS to
Yeah, but
Ukraine?
there is thousands of them, and they are to be retired because unlike Russia, the U.S. Destroys the old equipment and replaces it, kind of because the money, the
so they're
taxes.
just giving the stock they would have destroyed. Are you saying that?
It's a perfectly good equipment, and no, they give something else. They give like 4 HIMARS, and they have thousands of them in Europe.
Right, I see.
So they could deliver it like in 2 days, and they train people, and it takes about months. I mean, about a month to train the people. So you don't have anything like this sense of fear or this collapsing society in England, or you have your
Me?
yeah.
No, I think there are some things going wrong, and there are some people with very strange ideas. But, There was a joke going round when Tony Blair was the Prime Minister. What was circulating was people were talking about doing away with the royal family. And people were saying, well, we have one argument against doing away with the royal family.
Mm-hmm.
President Blair. No, so the thing is, I mean, at the moment, the Queen is still alive. I don't know what will happen after she's gone, but there is this sense of continuity, you know, that's sort of above politics. For all the problems the royal family have, there is this single element threading through, and that is pretty, at the moment, pretty rock solid.
Yeah.
And I think possibly that's why at the back of my mind, I don't have this feeling of impending doom, because the country is, there's a stable line. With America, I have said this to other Americans, there is a problem. You change the president. And so everything's constantly changing. And look, we can hate our prime minister as much as we want. It doesn't mean we hate the country, but when you hate the president, you know, I mean, he embodies the country as well. And there's a different attitude. So I did notice, for instance, I've mentioned this before, you know, the countries in Europe that managed to salvage most of its Jews when the Nazis moved in on them, they were the monarchies. Yeah. The King of Bulgaria got all his Jews out to Albania. King of Denmark famously got all their Jews out to, Norway or Sweden or somewhere, and then to, Sweden, that's it. Because there's a problem. When an invading force takes over another country, if it's a republic, they just stick a puppet there and everybody's still saluting the flag and pretending everything's the same. Yeah. You can't do that when there's a royal family. You know, the royal family gets out or something or stands up against you. You can't. So that's why I am a royalist myself. And I do understand that in America, when there's a problem with the president, then everybody feels unstable. So no, the answer. I got round to it in the end.
No, it's a good answer. In here it's also like not that kind of there is a how shall I say it? The virtue signaling thing going on, which I think is the case in all over the world, right? Yeah. But our virtue signaling thing is that the world is coming to an end. That's the famous American line, and of course the crisis is every day, and the problems are every day, and decisions are to be made every day. So people take this posture, but when you go to the heartland, so to speak, when I was talking to those people, when I'm a part of this conversation, it was my first time there. When they were telling me of what's going on, what's done, not to me, but to each other, of course. And it was to me very enlightening, because the country is working, the country is prospering to an extent that is kind of not as good as it was under President Trump, but still people are struggling. People achieve certain goals in life, and a lot of people are still happy. But we just need to take our house in order. If it gets dirty, it's not a catastrophe. We just got to clean it up and stick to some common sense. I don't say 100% common sense, but I would take 50% common sense.
It's not common sense. It's, well, that too, it's truth. There seems to be a problem with truth throughout the West. but particularly in America. I remember there was that interview with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, and she was actually telling lies to Oprah Winfrey. And then later on, when some of the lies were actually, brought to the fore, she said, or somebody said for her, well, this was her truth. This was her perception of what had been going on. And that, she's not unusual in doing that. That's a particularly American thing. Because I've seen it on television. People are always talking about somebody's truth. And that's a huge problem, because when you don't have an idea of the truth, then you are on very unstable ground. You can never rely on what anyone says, because they'll say X, and then later on you find out it's Y, and then you say, why did you say that? And then this other person says, well, that was my truth. And that absolves them of any sin.
Yeah.
So it's not common sense. It's just, it's truth. It's looking at reality and saying it how it is. You can have different opinions about a certain thing, but you can't change the thing. The thing going on now is this Leah Thomas business, more men and women type of thing. But that's a symptom. That's just one symptom, like spots are a symptom of chicken pox. That you may see the spots, but what's going on is the ravaging fever inside the body.
Yeah, that's right.
And that male-female thing is just the spots.
That is a symptom of the. I mean, the I deal with kids quite often, and I understand that kids are always pushing the boundaries. They try, like those little toy cars that bump into walls and roll back and bump again and roll back, and they look for the right way to proceed, for the opening to leave the room or whatever. So they explore the space around them. And this is how left operates today. They explore the limits of perception. And Sololinsky famously said that the power is perception of power. So that's what they try to instill into us. And they think that if we fear this and we have nothing to say to that, and we bow to the third thing, then they win. And that's important to them. That it doesn't matter. There is a gravity. There is laws of the universe, and nothing is trickles up in this world. For example, when they keep talking about no, there is no trickle. Riches doesn't trickle down. The prosperity doesn't trickle down from above. Everything trickles down. Everybody knows that, but they try to convince us something. That the famous, urinating on your leg and tell you it's raining. That's the thing. We don't give them our legs or any other part.
Well, we're back to this Jeremy Corbyn thing, where he's talking about nationalization as the salvation of our economic future.
Yeah. We talked about you have to lay the foundation, as they say in courts. Jeremy Corbyn, that nationalizing, he said that to heal the nation, to heal the economy, you have to nationalize things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Great Britain, UK had been there before, right?
Yeah, well, we had our time in the 50s and the early 60s. We went through that stage, and it was pretty disastrous. You know what Margaret Thatcher said about socialism? She said, the problem with socialism is that sooner or later you're going to run out of other people's money.
Yeah. Yeah, she was really a treasure.
She was. But this is the point. She was realistic and she spoke the truth. And the BBC couldn't forgive her for it, because remember, the BBC is a media company. Truth is not what they deal with. That's a bit of a problem. Culturally speaking, we rely for our information on an organization who was specifically set up not to tell the truth.
Yeah.
We,
And it's
we
taxpayer funded, right? It's
it's
a
taxpayer funded.
government. Yeah.
Well, yes, sort of, not taxpayer funded. There's a separate contribution which I refuse to pay. So legally, and I don't. I'm very. I stick to the rules very much in this respect. In most respects, you pay a license fee.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're allowed to watch BBC. Well, I don't pay the license fee, so I don't watch BBC. Well, I don't watch television. I do sometimes watch programs on Netflix or Amazon,
Yeah.
or even catch up, because you're allowed to watch catch up on YouTube. You just can't watch it live. So I that's how I get through it. But I used to work for the BBC. I know the people who populate that environment.
Yeah.
And I mean, George Orwell, he based his Ministry of Truth on his experience with the BBC.
Crazy.
And he was saying this in 1948.
Yeah. And BBC produced a lot of wonderful programs.
Wonderful. But they should stick to that.
Yeah, and I there is one of my favorites is Sir Kenneth Cole's Civilization.
Civilization.
Fantastic, especially the
brilliant.
finale. I played it in some program when you can see it in my playlist too. Those few last seconds of this program, and also I loved for a while, but he went kind of to the left side of things. Andrew Januszek, he worked more with the I think Channel 4. You heard the name?
Januszek,
yeah.
It wasn't Andrew though. Something like
I think Andrew.
No. Oh dear. Well,
art
anyway.
history, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The Dark Ages. I love the Dark Ages, like four miniseries. Also fantastic, and I love the Islam section where he tried to navigate through all the hoops and potholes of the subject, and showed pretty amazing things there. Demi, thank you so very much. I'll go and I'll start preparing for my big night tonight.
Oh yes, of course. I wish you all the best of luck, the best of British to you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, and we'll meet again, and we'll talk about the truth and the media and the lies between that cabal that is taking over the world, but we hope to stand in their way and prevail.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, everybody. And, друзья, до встречи сегодня вечером. Ждем вас на нашем фандрейзере сегодня. Вот небольшая картиночка. Ловите адрес, ловите информацию о театре. Стоимость билета $101. Приобретается на yuryforus.com. Событие это будет наше на русском языке. А вы можете приобрести билеты на спектакль, который будет на русском языке с английскими субтитрами «Мир их столкновений». Он будет играться 31 числа этого месяца, июля, в этом же помещении. Прекрасный театр прямо у нас под боком. До встречи, дорогие друзья. Demi, thank you so very much. I had to make a couple of announcements regarding the night and the theater, because they play this, they have a play there written by Bibi Netanyahu's younger brother, who's a pretty remarkable playwright. And he wrote a play about Einstein and Albert Einstein and Emanuel Velikovsky, who was psychologist with very strange ideas, and he tried to
about planets.
The planets, Jupiter and Venus. So you know what's going on. What's what?
Yeah.
So that's the play and that's the story. Hopefully one day it will be online and everybody would be able to see it with subtitles, because that's it's in Russian. And he came to the show a couple of weeks ago. I mean,
Einstein.
No. The Netanyahu, Ido Netanyahu, not Zeus. Also,
that would have been interesting.
All right. Everybody, take care. See you soon.